Hello and welcome to AFCast. I'm your host Malcolm, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Red Dead Redemption 2. Actually, not a little, we're going to be talking a lot about Red Dead Redemption 2. But first off, I do want to apologize for this being a day late. I kind of screwed up my recording that was meant to be set out yesterday, and so I wasn't really able to edit it properly. So I did have to record it again and also edit it again. So it did end up having to be a little bit later than usual. But yeah, let's jump right into it. So some stuff about Red Dead Redemption 2 is they actually started to work on it a little bit after the release of the first Red Dead Redemption, which was 8 years ago. So they have been working on this game for 8 years, perfecting it to the glory that it is today, and it truly is an amazing game. It is also for PlayStation 4 and Xbox, and they have teased at it being on PC, like sometime soon, but they haven't exactly. But I'm not entirely sure if they are going to actually go through with that or not. And the actual game itself is made by Rockstar Games and Studios, who also made GTA. It basically is a Western GTA, or a Western older version of GTA. And Red Dead Redemption 2 is actually a prequel to the first Red Dead Redemption, and it's also an open world game. And also the first Red Dead Redemption map is only a small portion of the second Red Dead Redemption map that we have now, and it's actually a very small portion of it. You can go back and visit everywhere that you wanted to, but if you were to take that and then compare it to the rest of the map, it would only be about 1/4 of it, which is pretty insane. So it takes place in 1899. You can play in either third or first person perspective. Arthur Morgan is the main character that you get to play as, and there will be multiple returning characters like Marston, who you played as in the first Red Dead Redemption, and you do actually get to see how Marston gets his scars that are on the side of his face, which is pretty interesting. And then there is multiplayer so that you can play with your friends. It's not like a multiplayer where it's like a shooter v shooter. It's just like a normal open world. Somebody just joins you in the world and you guys can play and complete missions together. And there is also a mobile companion app for the game, so that way you can customize your character, even just mess with stats in the game, even if you aren't near your console. And you don't need to have played the first Red Dead Redemption or watched it if you like to watch stuff on YouTube. But it does heighten the experience a lot. Obviously, this is because this is a prequel to the first Red Dead Redemption, so you don't exactly need to know prior information, but definitely seeing those returning characters and themes makes it very interesting, especially since you get to see the build-up to the next Red Dead Redemption. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the gameplay. So first off, the story is really well made. You're actually part of a gang called the Vanderlinde Gang, and you essentially travel from town to town, kind of camping out in the woods, stealing and robbing and bounties, that type of thing, in order to keep your gang alive. And you do actually have to help set up the camp when you move and keep up your gang's morale, essentially, by playing games or singing music or building campfires, that type of thing. It's very interesting and it's very pleasing to do as well. You will also get different reactions from people when you try to rob them. So some of them will be shy, some of them will be cooperative, so they'll be giving you money once you threaten them. Some of them will even try to ignore you, and some will be aggressive, and as soon as you try to threaten them, they'll come after you. So besides that, there are horses in the game, and so you can ride the horses. Your entire gang basically rides a horse, and you can shoot while you're riding the horse, which is pretty fun. And obviously it wouldn't be a Western old-timey GTA type game without shooting while riding a horse. And there are different horses that will do different things. Some of them will run faster than others, and some kind of like some of the AIs in the game, they will actually react differently to the environment. So sometimes when a gunshot goes off, some of them will get scared, some of them won't move, that type of thing. And sometimes they won't even want to go near certain places. So maybe they don't want to go through a certain place in the woods, or anywhere basically. And so it's pretty interesting because that is actually realistic to how horses act in real life. Because you're obviously not going to be able to control a horse since it is a hell of a lot stronger than you. And so I do like how they implemented that in the game, where they probably took a bunch of spots in the game and made it so that way horses just do not want to go to certain places just for whatever reason. And obviously it's random between each horse. I'm pretty sure it's not the same. I could be wrong on that. I haven't exactly gone through much testing, or I've seen much testing, but I do know that horses will steer clear of some areas as a fact. Also, you do have to take care of your horse or they can die, and they can also get unhealthy, they can get sick, and you'll have to treat them. And you can actually call your horse from anywhere by having your character whistle. And, he comes to you or she comes to you based on how well you've treated them, how far away they are, and how good of a bond you have with, your horse. So if you don't have a good enough bond, sometimes your horse just might not want to come near you. Like if you treat it poorly, like you don't give it food, you let it starve, you might have shot it at some point, possibly, anything like that. Just being with your horse more often and treating your horse more often and just being around it more and more slowly builds up that bond between you and the horse. And you do actually end up, like, personally feeling like you need to care for this horse, which I find a very cool thing that they managed to bring into a game, because obviously you don't get a lot of interactions like that in video games, since it's just a video game, that type of deal. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the weapons in the game. So first off, before I get too deep into the weapons, the fighting and movement in this game is really smooth, and it is it's very I guess I don't really know how to explain it. It just feels very comfortable. It doesn't feel clunky. It feels smooth, that type of deal. Yeah, so there is a kind of lock-on system. It's called Deadeye, and it's kind of like the VAT system from Fallout. So basically it kind of slows time, and you're able to mark people, or even mark, specific. You're basically just marking different areas to shoot at, and then your character will obviously shoot at those places. And so basically what you can do, you can try to use all of your bullets to get a bunch of headshots, or you could even use a bunch of your bullets all on one person. It's really up to you. And so, yeah, so your character will automatically fire on those targets after you've stopped the Deadeye mechanic. And it's actually a fairly interesting thing that they've implemented into the game, because obviously there's all of those stereotypical Western standoffs, and I think that's kind of where it comes from. And there is actually a lot of power behind the weapons. You can definitely feel what weapon you're holding, what weapon you're using, and when you use it. You can definitely tell that it has recoil, that type of deal. It's I don't really know how to explain it. It's kind of just you can tell that there's just this power behind the weapon that you're using. Obviously, it's also going to be the case with some of the older weapons, because they are a bit clunkier, and they will have a lot more power to them and not a lot of control. So you can definitely tell that that is the case when you are playing with them, and I find that very cool and interesting. And you have to choose what weapons you want to keep on your person. The reason of this is because it's not like GTA in the sense where you'll have a weapons wheel. You will only be able to carry a few weapons at a time, and you will actually see your character carrying these weapons with you. You will actually see them grab it off of their back or their belt or wherever it is. So this I like because it's a lot more realistic than the Far Cry 5 or GTA 5 kind of weapons wheel that you can pull up, where you can pull up a rocket launcher, or even what's it called? Oh, no. Just Cause doesn't have that, but you definitely the weapon wheel just doesn't ever make sense to me, because a lot of the time it's your person literally is carrying nothing on them, and then you just see them pull a random weapon out of their butt or something like that. And so I find it personally funny, but I also find it Like it is useful, obviously, but I don't find it realistic at all. And I personally like realistic stuff more, and so I do like this. And this doesn't mean that you're only limited to a few items. You do have a bunch of weapons that you can keep on your horse as well. So your horse is basically like a running, walking, jumping, eating, pooping arsenal that you just constantly have with you, which brings a whole new level to you treating your horse. Because if you don't treat your horse properly and you go to call it so that way you can get like more weapons or ammo, and they don't come to you, then that's bad. You end up getting screwed over because of that. So the weapons in the game are also customizable. So you can have stuff like scopes and grips, along with stuff that have like aesthetics. So yeah, if you want to deck out your weapon, you totally can. And your gun will actually get better as you use it, but it will also degrade if you don't care for it. So like your character Arthur will have to oil it, you'll have to clean it, and if they get wet, they won't function as properly. So you'll have to dry them off as well if you go swimming. The shooting in this game is pretty similar to GTA, where you have a white dot in the middle of your screen as your cursor, and you will have to try to use that as your function of aiming. And the weapons do feel a lot like GTA, especially when you're in third person, and even sometimes first person. But that's a little bit more of a difference. But that's just because of how I play. And also, yeah. So that's basically all I have to say about the weapons for Red Dead Redemption 2. So there is also a honor system in the game, and for those of you who don't know what an honor system is, you might be remembering it by the term like a moral system in the game, where essentially you have a good and a bad, or in this case, an honorable and outlaw. So neither of them are exactly like good, but one of them helps you out more than the other one does. And so honorable essentially is, it allows you to get higher payouts for bounties, whereas like outlaw will allow you to get higher payouts for robberies. And so this can actually like the honor system in this game, whether you're honorable or an outlaw, can affect how your missions play out sometimes, which is pretty interesting. It'll also depend on how NPCs will react to you. So if you're more honorable, maybe they'll be kinder towards you, or they won't like fear you. But if you're an outlaw, then some of them might run away from you. Yeah, it's totally up to how you want to play. Like if you like to do robberies more than bounties, then totally go for outlaw. But if you want to have a closer kind of, I guess, human connection in the game, then I would definitely go with honorable. So another thing in this game that is really well done is the physics in the game. So the physics are really well done. As I said before, this game is very realistic. A lot of the stuff in this game is realistic and fun. And so I just wanted to throw in physics just to be more clarifying about that. So yeah, there's also a lasso in the game that you can throw and snag people with, and you can actually drag them around with your horse while you have the lasso around them. And it's pretty funny to watch and do. And there are also trains that you can find and hop onto. I don't know if they're on a regular schedule. I'm guessing they will be because, one, it's a video game, so they're going to be like exact. But at the same time, this game also is highly realistic, so I don't know if they'll have like various schedules or a very extended pattern. I don't know. You guys can try to figure that out. So you can also craft items in the game, along with there being vendors in the game for you to sell stuff to and also buy stuff from. And there is a black market shop that can sell you stuff that you actually can't get from a general store. Obviously, that's why there's a black market. And you can shop in actual stores in the game that you can find in towns, which is pretty cool. And you can also take pictures. It's kind of like photo mode. In the weekly news, I did say that it wasn't like anything like the PlayStation version of taking photos. The only thing that's really similar about it is the fact that you can pose, and some of the controls are the same, but it doesn't stop time. Time will still go while you're taking a picture. So you can like wait for something to happen. So there are also, obviously, I already mentioned that there are different towns that you can visit in the game, but each town has its own like story and issues behind it. That is very interesting. And so, like, I definitely recommend looking at some of the history of Red Dead Redemption 2 towns, and even some of the people that are in the towns. Like, there's some very interesting people, and you really feel like you can connect with kind of the game in a sense when you can learn all of these backstories of people and things and places. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about hunting now. There's about 200 different species in this game, which is pretty insane, considering that like usually a game might have like 50 species. This is if it was a realistic game. I mean, like if it had actual species. But yeah, so like this has about 200 different species, and I'm not saying it has about 200 different animals. I'm saying that there are 200 different species, which means that there could be like 20 different types of horses. I think there is, and then different types of bears, different types of dogs, that type of deal. But 200 is still a lot and really impressive, and especially with all the other stuff that they've been doing with hunting, like in general, the animals are highly realistic in this game. The whole hunting system is actually pretty realistic, in my opinion, at least. Obviously, I'm not a hunter. I stay inside my house and play video games all day. So, um, but from what I know, it is pretty similar to hunting in real life. And yeah, so you can actually track your prey in the game. And one way to do that is if you actually hit an animal, you can follow its blood trail if it runs away. Like if you don't kill it with one shot, you can follow its blood trail and find it again. And sometimes it will have like bled out. Sometimes you will have to hit it again. Um, Anything like that. And then you can actually set bait traps in the game as well. You'll also have to mask your smell in some scenarios, and you can like study animals to find out their weaknesses and what weapons work best against them. And so buyers will actually pay less for lower quality meat. Like if you use bullets, they're obviously not going to want a hunk of metal inside of whatever meat you have, or definitely not lead poisoning. um, if you used anything with lead, I don't know if there was anything with lead at that time, or if I don't know. I don't know any specifics about guns, but essentially you can get paid for lower quality meat versus higher quality meat. And that also depends on how much it has rotted, because carcasses can rot in real life, and they can also rot in this game as time passes. So like if you wait too long to sell something, it can rot, and then you'll get less money for it. And then obviously, that's the same with like dead bodies, like actual people, dead bodies that you have. And so I find that pretty cool, especially since like you're gonna want to like take them somewhere else, because like vultures and coyotes and stuff. Actually, I don't know if there's coyotes in the game, but essentially they'll come in and they'll start eating the carcass, and then you don't want those around you, so you might move them, or they might give you away. But most of the time you're already given away, so it doesn't really matter. But still. And you can actually throw your dead animal over the back of a horse in order to carry it someplace, so you don't have to like drag it really far to like the closest town in order to sell it. You can throw it over your horse, which once again adds importance to taking care of your horse. And there are other predators in the wild that can take your prey before you get to it. And yeah, and honestly, hunting just really sucks you in, because there is also something called legendary animals, and they will give you legendary items, and these like legendary items can be able they essentially give you the ability to craft talismans and trinkets, which give you certain abilities in the game, and this is only possible with these legendary animal items, and you can only craft them in certain places. And then some stuff about Arthur is you can actually cook different meals with Arthur depending on like what stuff that you have with you, and that adds another layer to hunting in general. And they give you various stat boosts. So like some might give you strength, some might give you speed, that type of deal. And you can customize Arthur, like, with pants, t-shirts, that type of thing. But you can actually be like as specific as having like an open or closed collar, or even like tucking your jeans into your boots, which I find really impressive. Because obviously most games it's just like they kind of choose like whatever item that you choose, they already have chosen like how it looks and fits on you. So it's like it's not exactly that fun all the time, but this gives you a high level of customization, which definitely shows their 8 years of work. And Arthur can actually get dirty in the game, and people won't want to talk to him if he is dirty. So you will also have to give him baths at times if you are too dirty. And sometimes people won't even sell stuff to you because you are too dirty. It's almost like a no shoes, no shirt, no service type deal, but dirt. And you can also, Arthur can gain or lose weight. And I find that really interesting because people haven't really done that in a game or had it like really do anything in a game. But for this, it can actually like lower your speed, or like if you're like gaining weight, it can lower your speed. Or if you're like starving, you might like not have enough stamina, that type of deal. And you can also lose stamina by not being dressed properly for the environment. So like if you go to snowy peaks and mountains and all you have is like a long sleeved shirt and cargo pants or something like that, you're not gonna do very well. You're gonna want like a fur coat, a hat, boots, that type of deal, in order for you to actually survive in that environment. So all of this stuff, like honestly, this game is so complex. It's just insane. And like the soundtrack in it is also beautiful and amazing, and it is well suited for the game. It is very atmospheric. And honestly, the soundtrack kind of gives it like, a lot of people complain that some open world games are kind of just like feel empty, and I agree with that. And honestly, Red Dead Redemption 2 looks that way. Like if you were to just take a glance at it, it looks that way. But then when you were to actually play it, the soundtrack plus the animals plus the trees, the wind, everything that's going on in the game makes you feel so immersed that you don't really realize it's like the parts that are kind of empty. And so it doesn't feel like it's empty, which is really important for an open world game, especially one as big as Red Dead Redemption 2, because a lot of the time what happens is game developers make the game way too big, and it ends up being really bad because of that, because a lot of it just feels like filler. There have also been a lot of reports that claim that they had almost 1,000 voice actors come into the game and do different voices, which includes like all of the AIs in the game. And that is really cool to think, because a lot of the time games will just like repeat AIs. So every once in a while you'll find like the same AI with the same voice and everything like that. And I'm pretty sure that in this game, every AI is completely unique, which once again shows that 8 years of work that they put into this game and how amazing Rockstar Games honestly is for this game. It's just such an impressive work of art. Like, now I'm gonna get into my opinion, and my opinion is like, it is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece of a video game. Like, I honestly give it a 10 out of 10 rating. I mean, obviously they have bugs to work out, but like, that's just normal like release type bugs that will happen, and like you need to fix and address that. Like, but the game is 10 out of 10, hands down. 10 out of 10, really good game. It is the most complex game I have ever seen in my entire time of gaming. Like, and that's saying something, because I have over 200 games, and yeah, it's it's just I'm literally at a loss for words. Like, I would highly recommend this game. There are some people who don't like it, but that's obviously because it does have a certain feel to it, And honestly, the feel for it for me is that it is a 10 out of 10 game. And I would really recommend it to anybody who likes anything Western like this, anything at all. That's all I have time for today. I hope you like this review. I hope you get the game if you have the money for it, and play it and let me know what you think by emailing me. Once again, it'll be in the description. Game on.